So I've owned turbocharged cars, I've owned RBs, and they're awesome motors, But since I got into the older L6 Nissan motors, the NA is a different beast. It's obviously not as powerful as RB because it's NA, right? But just the sound of it and what you can achieve from that motor coming from the 70s, it's you can't get that with any other engine, you know what I mean?
Hey guys, this is Nao and welcome to the KodaCast. This is a podcast where we get to document our journey of our passion project, Kodawari Collective. On this podcast, it is my aim to share the stories, share our story, and the stories of people that we meet along the way. In doing so, we hope to inspire our audience to cultivate a growth mindset and to build a life around their passion. Today's guest is Navin Pillai and Tim. What's your last name?
Corbin.
They're the hosts of the Japan Classic Track Day, an event that we recently attended and had a great time. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having us, guys.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with, when I went to the show and I saw your team working together, the vibe that I got from you guys was definitely one of like family, one of like just like it was a good vibe, And why don't you guys start with how you met and how you guys know each other, because I know you guys go way back.
We go way back. Well, we're gonna date ourselves, Tim, but it's all right. So we were just talking about it. I think it was like about in 2009 or 2010 is when Tim and I met.
Yeah.
So essentially, like we both had R32 GTRs. He had a full Veilside wide body R32 GTR, and I had Barney, the purple one with the Tomei motor and whatnot. And we connected through GTR Canada. It was a car club back then. It's still going now, but had a couple meets and whatnot, and then that's it. I mean, we just started hanging out together. We went to a couple of track days together back then, and we connected through the GTR. We had one of the first ones in the country.
Yeah.
I think I was like Tim was like number 3. I was like number 4 or something of that nature. Yeah. And you guys had Neil from TPA. He was number 2 in the country. Actually.
All the OGs.
Yeah. So he was a part of GTR Canada and whatnot. And then outside of the car clubs, I remember Tim used to come to like my birthday party. Remember back in the day? Yeah, back in the day. And
I had just moved to Canada from Trinidad, and my first car was the R32 GTR, and that's how we met. And he was one of my first friends in the car community in Canada. So we always hung out, and it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And also my brother Nathan. Shout out, Nate. You're not here today, but we love you still. We still love you. Don't worry.
So like, where did this GTR passion come from, Tim?
Well, I was born in Trinidad, grew up there my entire life until my late 20s. So my dad had 2 RX2s growing up, and my first car was a JDM Integra Type R. So JDM has been my life forever, and I just brought that passion over here when I left Trinidad.
Because I've never been to Trinidad, but I'm very curious to experience what car culture is like around the world.
Yeah.
What is it like in Trinidad?
Growing up in Trinidad as a teenager, everything was JDM, everything. All the cars were JDM. It's right-hand drive there, so everything comes from Japan. All the cars were imported from Japan. All my friends had JDM cars, Evos, Starlets. My brother-in-law had a Starlet. I had the Type R. We would street race every week. There'd be a street race, probably 10 minutes from my house. It was awesome growing up there because there's such a huge JDM community there.
There's a huge culture there. If you go on YouTube and stuff and watch a couple of videos, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's still pretty big now. Not as big as it used to be, but the community is still pretty big there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
like a lot of like your older siblings were into cars as well? Is that...
Well, I only have one sibling, my sister. She's younger than I was.
Okay.
She loves cars as well. Yeah. She had an automatic Evo 7 actually. Yeah. She and her husband. Her husband had a Starlet, the old KP61 Starlet. So.
What is that?
It's a 1.3 liter turbocharged Toyota.
Yeah, 70s.
Yeah, 70s.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Kind of the godfather to the 86.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Same platform, front engine, rear wheel drive. It looks like a box on wheels, but those were huge.
Yeah, fun small car, you know.
They used to race those in Japan like crazy. Group A, Group B. They used to run them like crazy. There was actually like, there was a JGTC event where it was only Starlets. Yeah. Back in the day, a long time ago.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How are the roads in Trinidad?
The roads aren't that great, but you know, we made the best of what we had. You know, we would street race on main roads. We would use the actual traffic lights as our lights.
That's
you know?
so awesome.
Yeah, it
no
was
rules,
awesome.
man.
Yeah,
That's
no
sick.
rules. You know, back in those days, and we'd have, you know, there'd be a huge crowd, and you know, police would come eventually, but that'd be after we've ran for like 4 or 5 hours. You know.
Yeah.
It was great times, man.
And then they go away,
Yeah.
right?
So they don't have any helicopters with like heat
Well,
sensors?
you know, we're talking about the 90s here, you know what I mean? And it's in the Caribbean, so none of that's happening at that point, you know.
Cool, man. Yo, we're gonna have to go and visit one day. You're gonna have to show me around. And see
Yeah.
that, right?
Well, that stuff doesn't happen anymore, but you know, well, maybe it does. Who knows? But it's not as it used to be. You know.
Yeah, more of just experience and seeing what the car community over there looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing the kind of cars and how they build their cars and
Yeah.
what they like appreciate and value over there.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see how it differs from culture to culture, from country to country. And all that.
Yeah.
Everybody always has their takes on it, right? I mean, but like what's centered around it, it's like a lot of these other places, like even like UK, Australia, it's all JDM culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how much that JDM culture spread around the world. You know what I mean? Not just sticking to Asia. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. The law has changed there now with regards to importing JDM cars. You can't import the older cars anymore. So all the guys, all the guys who, like myself, who imported cars back then, it was easy, you know, because it was allowed at that point. But now it's not. So all the old school guys, they still have their cars, you know, but you can't import the older cars.
yeah, they're
anymore,
like
unfortunately.
grandfathered in, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
You said you were trying to find your Type R, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
original one. You were
yeah,
searching for it.
because I sold it to, I don't remember who the guy is, but I try a couple of years. Every year I message some of my friends over there asking, hey man, have you seen my old Type R? You know, if you ever see it, stop the guy and ask him if it's for sale, you know?
The one that got away, right?
You never forget your first
Yeah.
car.
Oh man, especially if it's a car like that. That's
It's crazy. So Tim and I had the same car too, right? My Type R was was my first car too, right? So, and then GTRs and whatnot, and Tim had a pretty badass E92 M3 for a little while, full of Muse everything.
You just made a kit for that car.
Bumper in the rear, a lip, and a rear deck lid in the trunk.
You're gonna have to show me some of these pictures.
Actually, I don't have pictures of that car. Which is
I have
unfortunate.
I have one from one of my birthdays because you brought it to one of my birthdays
really,
back in the day.
Yeah.
I'll dig that out and send it to
It's
you.
funny, that car, I had that car, I had it for it was probably a few months maybe.
Yeah. It was like a summer, no?
And I went to Yorkdale, and this guy pulled up to me in an M5, this young kid. He's like, you selling that car? I'm like, yeah, I'll sell it if you want to buy it for the right price. So I asked him, I told him my price. He's like, okay. He's like, I'll give you a call and we'll buy it. So with the next week, this guy comes back to Yorkdale, brings his mom, and he had 2 checks, one from his mom and one from his dad. And he cashed it out, and that was it. He went with the car.
Sick. I remember.
it's pretty insane.
I forgot about that story.
yeah,
That's sick.
Yeah, so that guy was gone real quick.
When you build unique cars, people do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll take it now. Like,
I know. It's when you build a car where it catches someone's attention like that.
And that's it. And they have the money for it.
Yeah.
I love being asked that question, eh? Is that for sale? Everything's for sale, man. You want this shirt? I'll sell it to you. No problem.
Do you want this kidney? That's for sale
No
too.
worries,
That's big money,
man.
right?
No worries. If you're good at something, man, don't do it for free. So if you're good at building cars,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
it,
yo.
man. No problem. Anything's for sale.
I've had a few people ask about my 8th gen, and definitely the NSX. So but I don't know if I could do it, man. Well, I probably didn't ask for a big enough number. That's probably it.
Yeah, just because like to make it worth to sell something like that or like a build.
Yeah.
Like when I do it, I just make the price stupid.
Yeah, just Hail Mary, right?
No problem, man. And if someone hits buy it now, no problem. It's good. Like the only car that I haven't been able to do that with is the friggin' 8.6. Like I put it on eBay, man, and nobody like a couple people bid on it and whatever. I'm like, no, and it went on Bring a Trailer.
Yeah.
And like some guy was like, oh, I'll give you this much. I'm like, this is not a negotiation. There's no negotiating. You pay what I want, or you ain't getting the car, man. I keep it. I don't want the money. I don't care about that.
You know why that is, right? Those are the car gods talking to you and being like, "You're trying to get rid of an 8.6?"
Yeah. You're stupid. I know. Yeah. We were just talking about it on the way here. I'm like, yo, I don't think I can sell it.
Because if Nathan was here, he would say the same thing.
Yeah, but Nate has a hoarding problem. You've never been to his house. Go to his house and you'll see that he's got like a hoarding issue.
Is that why he has 10 acres?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's gonna suck if and when he ever sells it. And it's like, where am I gonna put all this shit? And I was like, oh, you're asking the wrong person, man.
Does he ask you to help him move, or does he hire movers?
We're adults now, so yeah, he hires movers.
You guys movers.
Yeah, we're adults now. Yeah. I'll come and stand there and drink beer and help a little bit. And I'm sick of moving houses, though. I've done it so many times now, so I'm good at it. No. Well, yeah, man.
But importing. Why do you think they changed importing laws in Trinidad with these cars?
To be honest, I don't know the exact reason why it was done, but I think it was just killing the new car market, because they would just import the older JDM cars. I think you can still import JDM cars, but it has to be a newer.
Yeah.
So, which really doesn't make sense, to be honest with you, because it's still killing the new car market. But I didn't really pay much attention to why they did it, but it's sort of killed the old JDM market there, unfortunately.
Stupid, because now a generation of people won't know about those old school cars, right? Besides the internet or social media, right?
Yeah, and when last time I went back there, you would hardly see any old JDM cars on the road. They're either in storage or they're not on the road as much.
They're probably worth a ton of money now, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So you guys, you came over to Canada, and then you guys both picked up R32 GTRs.
Yeah.
Talk about that community. Talk about how your friendship has formed and where it's led you to till today.
So back then, because this is a little while ago, there was only a few of us.
Yeah, so, it wasn't that many guys.
There was a few of us, and they were all majority of them were GTRs. So, and a lot of people didn't really know how to drive right-hand drive, right? And so that community, it was a little different. I mean, so you had guys that were really into that chassis and like the R32s and whatnot, and then you had guys that just kind of bought it because it's a Skyline. They just a lot of them blew up. I don't know if you remember. There was a lot of them literally grenaded because like a lot of those cars that came out of Japan, they either had like tuning or mods. Like you don't get a car imported and it's stock. If you do, it's very, very rare, right? So the guys that were like hardcore, I guess like we were considered hardcore guys. Like, I just remember having conversations about like the parts that we couldn't get because like Yahoo Auctions was a thing then, but it was like difficult to get it over, right? So there were only very few people that were able to get parts for our cars if we needed something, like, or even like mods. Back then there weren't importers bringing in a lot of stuff. So like I just remember like scouring the JDM import, like the import cars and motors and stuff like that. There's a couple of guys like Big Japanese and whatnot. I remember going there and they had nothing. I was a little bit more, I guess, lucky with mine because mine was built in Osaka by a shop, and I flew there, built it there, and brought it over. But Tim, you did a lot of work to your car here, right?
It was when I bought mine. It was already for sale in BC. When I seen it, it was built Valeside wide body kit. That's
nobody had that.
Nobody had it.
Nobody had that.
And it came from Japan like that. And so I don't remember how much I paid for it. It was pretty cheap at that time, compared to what the prices are now, you know.
Now we'd be freaking rich, man. We had our two cars. Oh, man.
Yeah, back in those days, it was a lot of younger guys who bought the R32s, and they trashed them. You know, they didn't keep them well at all. So it was, you know, it was only a few of us, like myself, Navin, and what's this guy, TBA? Neil, who, I mean, Neil still has his own till now, you know what I mean?
He just sold it, bro.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So,
He just recently sold it.
yeah, so
He
yeah,
called
he
me,
was one of the
crying.
old school guys. Yeah.
Oh, he got
Yeah, after that long, I'd be crying too, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever sell mine if I kept it that long. You
Yeah.
know? That's one car I regret selling.
Same.
It's probably the only car I really regret selling because it was so unique.
I remember Tim's car had like a 5-inch exhaust. When he showed up to
Yeah, it was 4-inch.
No,
Yeah.
it was like 5. No. It was like the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life.
was 4-inch.
And it was like full straight pipe, right?
It was, yeah.
He showed up to Cayuga and I was like, what the hell is that, man?
Yeah, it was a fun car.
Yeah. Yours a single turbo, I think?
It was twin turbo
still
still.
twins?
Yeah. Yeah, I spent quite a lot of money on that thing.
Yeah.
Upgraded everything on it.
Yeah. Both of our cars, they were like fully built motors, turbos, suspension.
Yeah.
Right. You had the Alcons on that one?
Yeah, the Alcon brakes.
He had Alcon in the front. I had Endless on mine. Those cars are like, once you taste like 600 wheel horsepower in those things, it's a freaking animal.
It's addictive, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny that we talk about all this JDM, GTR stuff. I drove my first right-hand drive car at your event. Right?
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, you did. I saw that.
Jamal, one of our friends, he has an R32 as well, GTR, right? And I'm learning more about this passion for GTRs and each community as we kind of like make connections and build relationships with each community, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I drove my first GTR, and driving right-hand drive was still really, really weird, but it hits different. Those cars, it's so interesting to compare something modern compared to how these cars drive.
With those, like the GTR specifically, it's the motor, man. The way the RB sounds is crazy. The way it revs. The best thing for me with the RB was like when I bounced it off the limiter. It just made this like shotgun napalm exploding noise. It was amazing. So driving that car takes a little bit. You have to have a little bit of like practice and skill with it. Okay. Because like with mine, so they come all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But mine I converted. It was only rear-wheel drive. I actually had a controller in the car. It's called the ETC Atessa controller. Atessa's the all-wheel drive system in the R32 GTRs. So I had a controller where I could dial in front to rear bias on the car, but I just put it to rear because I'm stupid, and like always on rear. So like on track, like the thing was an animal, man. And I only kept that car for like about 2 years. I think I was young. I was like 2 years or so when I had that car, but I tracked it quite a bit after we tuned it.
Yeah, I tracked mine a lot.
Yes, so he was on track with that thing way more.
Yeah, I remember when CSCS first started, I was in time attack with that thing, with CSCS when they first had it. You know? It was awesome. Yeah.
They're scary, man. Like once if you don't get used to it, because like the pull on them, like especially on the highway. So I have this story of like I used to drive that car to York because this is when I was in university, and I remember I was like 15 minutes before my class started, and I had to get there on time because whatever, it was an important day, and I used to take the 407 from Markham to York. So that on average, that's a 30-minute drive. I got there in 8 minutes. 8 minutes, man. Like 245 cruising on the 407 the whole way. So it's just an animal because like it lives in like mid-range power when the boost kicks in, and then once because it's a 6-cylinder, like inline 6, similar to like a 2J or whatever, the torque in that range is crazy. Like you just plant your foot and it just the RPM needle just flies like no problem. It's an amazing motor.
Yeah, it's probably the greatest JDM motor ever built.
Yeah.
So would you guys rank it?
Toyota guys won't agree with that.
2J guys won't agree with that. But.
So
well, I'd say it's one of two.
What would you rate as a top 3 JDM motors in your opinion? Like
first and foremost would be the B18C from the Type R. That is like my ultimate favorite motor, and then the RB26, and then the AE 111 4AG from Toyota. 2J is not even on my list, only because I know that there's no issue with the 2J, but like in order to make power in that, people are like, oh, it can take 1,000 horsepower stock. It can't. It can reliably do 400, whereas like with an RB, you can do like 7 on the bottom end, no problem.
Tim, what about for you?
Well, now owning a 240Z, I have to say the L6 engine is the best JDM engine ever made.
L6.
Yeah, that came with the 240, 280Zs.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a L28 pretty much. 2.8 liter inline, 6-cylinder, single cam.
From the 70s.
Is that?
Yeah. That's why.
That's the best part about it. It's from the 70s.
That's why I say it's the best motor because
is that a carbureted motor?
yeah. So it came either with SUs or it came electronic, so injectors.
Yeah.
But mine came with, well, I carbureted mine, so.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about those motors.
Yeah.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about like to you, why does that motor, why is that the best?
Yeah, well, so I've owned turbocharged cars, I've owned RBs, and they're awesome motors, but since I got into the older L6 Nissan motors, the NA is a different beast. It's obviously not as powerful as RB because it's NA, right? But just the sound of it and what you can achieve from that motor coming from the 70s, it's you can't get that with any other engine, you know what I mean? I mean, my engine's probably running around between 250, 300 horsepower, NA, and that's single cam inline 6.
What does your car rev to?
It can rev to 7,500 RPM, but I've never really gotten to that yet. I just recently rebuilt the head, so I'll probably eventually get to that, probably next track day I do, but that's pretty much why I like those engines, because there's so much that can be done to it. I mean, mine is bored and stroked out to 3 liters, and the head's all done. The restriction with these engines is the head, the airflow to the head is restricted. So once you open that up, it comes alive pretty much.
And the sound those carbs
yeah,
make.
the sound is pretty awesome. And a lot of guys don't like carburetors because they think it's hard to tune, and it can be difficult to tune, but once you understand how a carburetor works, it's easy. It's very simple. And I taught myself to be able to tune my own carburetors because there's not many people who can do it around here. So yeah, just being able to run old technology like that and efficiently. Like I drove 1.5 hours to Shannonville, tracked the car and drove home with 0 issues whatsoever.
Try to do that in like an SR20.
Man, now I'm really upset that you didn't bring the car, because I would have loved to have experienced that.
Yeah,
because to me, the motor is the heart of the experience.
Yeah, it is a very fun motor, man. It's very reliable. I would say it's.
It revs pretty quick. It's torquey too.
I mean, you can do a lot more than I've done to it, but I try to keep it reliable, and I want the longevity of it, not like what race cars would do. Yeah.
All like you touched on it being NA. You guys have both driven a lot of NA versus forced induction.
Yeah.
What do you guys like more?
NA. I love NA, man.
Yeah, I think NA.
Winding out a motor to like its max.
Yeah.
And just hearing it scream is like the best part
it's
about
fun.
driving. It doesn't have to be fast. Like in the 8.6, the K24 is not like, it's fast, but it's not crazy. If I boosted that car, it'd be stupid fast. But hearing that car rev to 8,900 RPM is like the whole part of it,
Yeah.
I'm like, please don't break as you get closer. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just wakes you up inside, as opposed to like turbo, it's fast, right? It's like it's cheating technically, but not.
Yeah.
But
Well, what I like about keeping the 240Z anyways, NA is the power to weight ratio. It's, a lot of guys swap
RB, SR, any
V8s into, because it's such a huge engine bay in the Z. You can pretty much put any engine in there. You know what I mean?
That car's just a rolling engine, babe. You've seen the front end on the thing. It's like huge.
There's so much space.
There's so much space.
Yeah. And I like the underpowered. I wouldn't say it's underpowered, but it's the right power. It's enough for you to lose control and control it. You know what I mean? Whereas you put a RB in there, 900 horsepower, there's no way you're controlling that around corners. You know
that balance,
I mean?
right?
And it's a car from the 70s, and the cars from the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Put that power in and you'll twist the thing in half.
Yeah.
So now you got a whole different problem on your hands.
You have to reinforce everything on the car, you know. So I like it being underpowered anyways, because the weight of the cars is nothing really compared to other cars, you know. And I just think it's more fun.
Yeah.
It's harder to drive an underpowered car fast than it is than a high power, like on track. You know, that takes more. It takes more of the thing in between the steering wheel and the seat, like more than the car doing itself, right? Yeah. That's why, like, at the track day, I didn't take the 8.6 out. I'm not feeling well because, like, if I took the 8.6 out, it's a different ballgame. It's a completely different ballgame. I took the 911 out because it's easy, like easier to drive than, you know, like the car has assists on it and the car brakes better, it like corners better, and it's a much easier car to drive. And like that car's got 500 horsepower. But I was literally afraid to drive the 8.6 because I wasn't feeling well that day, because it's like, those cars are harder to drive, man, because you have to be on point the whole time. Otherwise, you're spinning it and putting it on the grass, or God forbid, into the wall. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you guys made a lot of really good points, right? It's that balance, that power to weight ratio, keeping it.
Yeah.
That's what the classic cars are about, right? Driving it at 11 tenths.
Yeah.
The whole time. Otherwise, if you let the RPM drop, you're now dead in the water type of thing, right? Yeah. Lightweight, high power, low powered cars, right? So.
And is that what led you guys to making the track day and then the event all about?
I mean,
the older classic JDM cars.
Exactly. So like Tim and I had this idea like a while ago, a long time ago, and like last year we really we were like, okay, we're gonna freaking do this. Even though it was like pandemic or whatever, we're like, let's do this. So last year's event, there was a lot of things that it was at a smaller track, still at Shannonville, but at their smaller venue, which was the Fabi track, right? Yeah, the Fabi track. So we wanted to start it a little bit on the smaller end, try to gauge the community and see what kind of response we got. So we started like technically marketing it in April, and it was a September event. So we wanted to take the summer, first of all, to see how the pandemic would affect it, but at the same time, we wanted to really pull in the right type of crowd. So like right away we got people, I remember this, like the first couple of emails were people with newer cars. They're like, oh, we want to come to the event and track. So like Tim, like we called each other and we were like, yo man, we have to keep this at what we want it to be. Pre-99, and like we came up with pre-99, but to us, like, frick man, 99 doesn't sound old, but that's old now, I guess. Yeah. So we were like, we'll keep it at pre-99 to try to gauge the 90s cars, 80s cars, and 70s cars, obviously, right? That being the most, the 70s and the 80s were kind of where we really wanted to focus, because that's what we drive, right? We drive cars from the 70s and from the 80s. And then the main premise of the whole event, it's not to, we're not trying to make money. We're not trying to, we're not trying to turn this maybe in the future into something bigger, but the whole idea was to bring out cars that nobody sees on the track. Like there was no event. I believe we were the first event in Ontario to actually do something like that, where, we coined it the Japanese Classic Track Day, because that's exactly what it is. It's a track day for enthusiasts of the older, like with older vehicles, to come out and showcase. And it's not a race, and I say this at both drivers meetings we had, it's not a race. It's not a time attack. If you want to do that, there are events there. You can go and do that there. This is an enthusiast day. You're driving a 110 horsepower car from the 70s or 80s, and like, relax. Like, that's like something, So this event that passed was our second event. The first event was great. We actually got featured on Speed Hunters.
Yeah, that's where I heard about it.
Yeah, our good friends, one of our good friends, Dave Thomas, from Stances Everything. He also writes for Speed Hunters as well. So last year's event got on there. So we're like, okay. this has, it gained quite a bit of traction. We had like 35 cars last year. Not a lot of spectators because of the pandemic, but more so there was a really good crowd, right? So this year, Tim works away, like majority of the time he works out of country, and then he's back and forth. So it was a little bit more difficult this year. Like my schedule was crazy. So like I think it was in July.
Yeah, I had like numerous people asking me, yo, when are you guys having the next one? So I spoke to Navin. I'm like, listen, man, we need to do this again, Mm-hmm. Because with my schedule, I didn't know when I would be home, and it's hard to plan or set a date for the next one. I'm like, so I looked at it and I said, we have to choose one date, and just do it. Mm-hmm. And it worked out pretty good for both of us. I was able to be home, and
yeah, he came back like a week before the event. Yeah, put his motor back together, and then brought the car.
Yeah.
So the event was September 26th, this past Sunday. We had about a month and a half to market it, and really, and it was a little bit more difficult because obviously you don't have enough. That's not enough time for an event of this like this, right? But immediately we got like registrations on the go. People were they were like, oh, can we come and spectate? So we're like, okay, like we'll get now. I feel like we're gonna get more spectators, right? So we tracked spectators like halfway through the day, and it was like, holy crap, there's a lot of people here, a lot of nice cars in like the parking lot for for them. As far as the registered cars, the field was it was so diverse. Like we had RX-7s, S2000s. You guys brought out your S2000 and the NSX as well. We had a couple 70 Celica, a bunch of 240Zs, a couple AE86s, a Celica Supra. The guys from Monkey Works, they always show support. They came last year. They came out this year. They come in like a crew. It's super awesome. It's like they've got like their own little swag to them. So they come with like this modded out Privia, which is sick, slammed on wheels. Celica Supra, very well, like really like badass style and whatnot. It was the one that had like the anime graphics on the side. And then they brought like an AE86. They brought like a little like charcoal barbecue. You know what I mean? Those guys are awesome. So they were out at this event, and then we had some heavy hitters. Like, and this was like kind of out of the blue for us. Like, I mean, we were like, oh, we're kind of like a small time event, but I guess it kind of the word spread to them. We had a CSCS Time Attack RX-7 come out. Don Reed. Amazing car, amazing driver. He actually did his lap record at Shannonville at our event. So he was super proud, and he was like, I'll be back next year, like without a doubt. One of the main highlights for the event would be the guys from Maryland Industry Garage, Tim Hicks.
Yeah.
Brought out that, Tim was the one that actually reached out to them, and they drove up from Maryland.
It's funny because after last year's event, he messaged us to say he would be there for the next one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's from then I knew I had an idea, oh, this guy's actually going to come to the event, which I didn't really believe at the time because, he's coming from the U.S.,
Yeah.
And, he actually made the trek up to Shannonville, which was really awesome,
Yeah, it was like, it was really nice to meet him and for him to drive 10 hours up. With his car,
that was awesome. Yeah, and he said he would be back next year as well. So that would be great. I mean, for me, I tracked my Z for the past 4 or 5 years, and I only tracked at Motorsport big track, GP track, and I was the only old JDM, old anything there. Yeah. The other old cars are probably old race cars, and I always wondered to myself, I would go there by myself and track for the day, I'd carry nobody with me. I'd just go just to enjoy the day, Yeah. And that would be my only time to drive the car on the track. Mm-hmm. I park it at home, and then the rest of the time off that I have, I spend at home with my family and my kids, and, I just devote one day to that track day, and I would go do it. And every time I went, I was like, why isn't there an event for JDM car, older cars,
Yeah.
And every time we just got to think, and me and Navin spoke, and we brought it up, and we're like, you know what, we need to do this, and that's how it.
Because like, I heard of an event that there was going on during the same time that we had our M2 M3 meet. It was a lot of really fancy cars, like I think it was called Drive. Or something.
Drive Festival.
Drive Fest, but it was like Puganis and stuff like that.
Yeah, Drive Festival is. I was at that event on the Sunday, so essentially it's modeled after the Goodwood, the Festival of Speed at Goodwood. It's the same type of premise, like so all these crazy exotic cars you'd never be able to see. That's more of like a public type of thing. You know, like a lot of people don't get to see Lambos and Ferraris and Paganis, and even for me, I was like, holy crap, this is sick. Like, you know, I've been around the industry, right? So those events are more. It's more of like a exhibition. It's not really like a track event, right? So. Our event is more of it takes it one step further. It's first and foremost a lapping day. Then it's a lapping day for the classic cars. That's what we want to achieve, and then as well, you know, draw out crowds, you know, that have never seen those older cars. So we had some like younger generations. We had a couple families show up as well, you know, because like the dads are like, oh, this is cool, and the kids like, it's not a Lambo, and then they see it go out on the track, and they're like, oh, this is so cool. Like, where else have you seen the 70s Celica and a 70s Toyota Corona going out together, right? So the event, you know, we gauged it, you know, afterwards the response was really good, and we had a lot of people come from Montreal, a lot of Ottawa people, a lot of, you know, East End, Toronto, Ontario, and some guys from the West End. And, you know, the venue's a little more challenging in the GTA because it's an hour and a half from Toronto. Like, it's even for me being we're both in the Durham region. For us, it's still like I was up at like 4:30 that day, man. You know, I loaded the Corolla into the trailer, and you know, we didn't even last year we met up, and this year we were like, yo, let's just meet at the track, man. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I mean, the day was, you know, thank God, you know, it was the weather was perfect. Both events, like when you do an outdoor event, you're flipping a coin, man. It's either it rains and it's a flop, or it's sunny and beautiful and you're good to
Especially
go. Especially
for a track day.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. Like, it's been a while since I've driven up to Shannonville.
Yeah.
And driving up, I was like,
yeah.
God, I hate these friggin' bucket seats. I was like, punch it over. I was like, oh, my back. I gotta stretch more, man.
Slow down, buddy. Your NSX with bucket seats ain't so bad. All right, man. Don't worry. You're good. I believe you're good. Yeah, no, totally, man. And it's hard to, like, again, like an hour and a half to drive a friggin'
at least you guys got a radio and shit.
Yeah, they're just listening to
I just listen to my engine, which I'm fine with.
But like our staff is really cool. Like we're friends. Like, so my brother is involved with it. Josh from Import Fest is involved with it, and then Tim's got two of his really close friends, Derry and Kevin. You know, and we're all track guys. We've all experienced. You know, we know what we're doing, and we had Vince come out. He's got the Ready 86. He's a part of the staff as well. You know, it's just for us, like organizing an event is what I do. I love doing that, right? And if I can take, you know, what I love doing with cars and doing it in an event, even better, man. Like with Import Fest, obviously it's on a larger scale. So doing something on a smaller scale, it's peanuts. It's easy.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely gonna get into more fleshing out these events and stuff like that. But we're just gonna jump into a quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll be back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're back from the break. Oh, just a heads up with this episode, if you guys hear like a motor that keeps running on in the background, it's because Navin's car is getting washed. Our studio's not set up yet, so we're still trying to make things work. So
it's getting a proper detail after getting thrashed on the track.
We appreciate you guys putting up with that the nice humming noise of our sweet Kranzel pressure washer.
Obnoxious.
But yeah, before we got onto the break, I know we were talking about like the turnout and everyone's kind of enthusiasm with having an event centered around JDM classic cars, and I've been thinking about that, and I think you guys have something special there because, you know, with the market as it is right now, you know, with these car prices and people collecting and potentially and pretty much not driving them because they're so worried about the value. Seeing them on track, seeing them in person is getting more and more rare.
You know, and that's kind of the response we got after the event is like a lot of people were like, so I just saw a post, someone just made it today. One of the guys with the RX-7 was like, living out my childhood fantasy from Gran Turismo. Like, you know, like seeing, because in Gran Turismo, you can pick all these like classic cars and, you know, drive them. It's like a real life video game, like come to life. And I thought about that for just a second now. And I was like, that's true, man. Like where else, you know, like in the US, in California, they've got a huge event called the JCCS, which is the Japanese Classic Car Show. But that's more of like beauty queens, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're amazing cars, and those guys don't really drive their cars. But our whole thing is like Tim and I have classic cars that we drive and track, not so much. I haven't really tracked or driven my 8.6 a lot this year, but we love seeing that, man. Like, we were like, him and I, we were like, during the event, like it's busy, Tim's got his stuff, I got my stuff, we're trying to just keep everything organized. But like the few times that we came together, I'm like, yo, Tim, do you see that 240 in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Why the hell isn't that thing on the track? That car's got to come to the track. So that's a response that we got a lot as well. A lot of guys, they came as spectators, but they still brought their car. And then they see these other ones like on track, and they're like, oh, like a couple of guys reached out and was like, yo, next year I'm going to put my car on track. It's intimidating, as you know. Now you took the S2 on track. Was that your first time on track, or like one of your first times on track?
That was the first time on Shannonville.
On Shannonville, okay.
I've only done one lap at DDT with the S2000.
With the S2000.
So I'm still a very new driver, and there have been so many like stories about S2000 crashes that it's still like it kind of.
Of course, man. Like being on track is not easy. I mean, it's all about experience. It's all about your confidence level. But like we cater to that too at our event. So we set it up so we have different run groups. Okay, we have a novice group or an intermediate group, and then we have the race car group. In no way, shape, or form, like we vet all of our drivers. It's a very simple question: have you been on track? Yes or no. If you answer no to that, you're in the beginner group right away. And the way what we like to do is like we'll set up the run groups based off of the cars. And if you progress well during the day, we'll bump you up. However, if you're going to stay in the novice group, you stay in the novice group until you're ready and confident. And that's how like we try to eliminate any type of incidents on track. One, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Of course, that's like the last thing I want to see. Two, these are cars where people in the back of their minds are like, well, if I hit a wall, how the hell am I going to replace this? Money wise, rarity of parts wise, and we understand that, right? But the whole idea is like, what we want to get to the point where we have a really nice field of cars, not that we don't have it already, like where we want to progress it into, I want you to bring that car that's been sitting in the garage for 50 or for like 20 years. Bring it, have fun with it, drive it, experience for what it is. They look beautiful. Staring at them is one thing, but experiencing that on track in a safe environment is what like we're kind of striving for, right?
Yeah, like we know that it's hard for these guys to, say, okay, I'm going to take my car on the track. They think that they're going to experience 40 cars on the track at the same time. It's going to be unsafe. The chances of crashing or, something is way higher, obviously. But we try to preach that we're trying to do a safe event here because all these cars are worth a lot to all the owners, Yeah. And we try to restrict the amount of cars on the track at one time, so there's enough space between everyone, because doing track days previously, I hated where there was too many cars on track, and then you get some stupid drivers who don't know what they're doing or think they know what they're doing, and they don't care about your old car, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to make it as safe as can be, and we know who are the drivers who've not tracked before, and we're trying to get in. So this track day, we were supposed to have a certified instructor who was going to provide the services to any newcomer there. But unfortunately, he had for free, which is unheard of. That's never free.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he had a disaster at his home and he couldn't make it. So but that's the way we want to go with it as well, to have an instructor for anybody who wants it, because the few times that I have paid for an instructor, the knowledge you gain is next. It's amazing.
Worth every penny. Even like
it sticks in your head every single track day.
Of course.
And
like it's a learning curve. Everybody started somewhere. Well, yes, I've been on. The first time I was on track, I was like 17, 18. But at the same time, like you got to start somewhere, right? So the learning process of and every track is different. Even like when I took the 911 out at our day, I was like, I haven't done Shannonville full track in probably 2 years, a year and a half maybe, and it took me a couple laps. And that's what it is, right? And the confidence, when you build the confidence in yourself, is when you gain the confidence in the car. And then from there you progress, you progress to be faster and faster. And like in no way, shape or form, I've never pushed full limit of myself and of any of my cars on track because I don't want to crash it. With the 8.6, it's a little different. Once you get going in that car, that's it. Like it just once, like last year, I spent like 20 minutes, 30 minutes on track in that thing, and then I broke it. And then I put it in the trailer and took it home. It was a minor thing that happened, but like, that's the thing, right? So, and even still at our event, what we did was, even for the beginner guys, when the novice guys, when they went on track, including you, I radioed the marshals and said, let's keep an eye on this guy. Let's see how he's doing. And like the flag system is like every other track. But like what I said in the driver's meeting was, if I black flag you, that doesn't mean you're in trouble. That just means we want to talk to you. If I give you the red flag, you get off the track and get out of my event. That's a different story, right? Our staff, we know, and this is something that we told the staff as well. Keep an eye on the new guys. Let's help them. Let's move them into, So we had guys come last year at their first time tracking, and our second event was their second time tracking. So now their third event is in the third event. I hope they come out and and they've already told me like we're comfortable. We like the way it's run. And that's the thing, right? And that's what we're striving for this event. Whether it moves into something bigger in the future, sure. But we would like to keep it where it's at now. Like, I really enjoy it. Maybe try to do 2 events. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, and get some more cars there. Because we've only scratched the surface as the old JDM cars in Ontario. Yeah. There were lots of cars there that I never knew existed in Ontario. So, and out west, there's even more.
We were talking about that on the way.
So many guys couldn't make it because it's too far. They're just not willing to drive that far. It's it's unsafe for them, and they think it's unsafe for their car. It's a long drive to do if you're not trailering your car over. So.
Yeah, no, that was I definitely appreciated that at the track. You guys giving everyone the space to do all that, and I definitely noticed that. So just hearing, like, that's the reason why I wanted to have you guys on, because I felt like a really good vibe from it, and I'm like, I want people to understand what these guys are trying to do, because this is your passion project. You guys have been through the scene, you guys have experienced a lot, and you're taking the best and trying to do your best with the little bit of time and energy to host this event, which is a lot of work. And kudos to you guys, and I want to support it 100%.
Yeah,
right? You guys did, man. Shout out to KodaWarrior for cutting all those stickers last night. The night before the event, they were up late, cutting stickers for us, and we handed them out as much as we could. I still have a little bit left, so I was thinking about throwing some in the mail and sending them to some of our registration guys. You know what I mean? That's what it is, right? So like it's. The community, like, you need to support each other, right? And you guys have that same passion for like the old school stuff. I don't even need to say that anymore. You guys are known for that now. Everybody I've talked to, all the guys that have done the podcast, you've had Varun on here, you've had Neil on, and you've had some guys that have been around for a long time on here, right? And you guys are now being recognized for them, and to like work with you guys. And I know you guys, it's friggin' far for you guys to come to our event, and just want to give you guys a shout out for coming out to the event, bringing 2 really sick cars like that. Your NSX now is, it's known, like it's one of the best out there in the city, definitely. And S2000 is an S2000, next year, like, moving forward, we learned a lot from last event. We implemented them at this event. We learned a lot from this event, and the next one we're going to implement some stuff to there as well. We've got ideas. This is a project, like, this stuff, everything, that whole day is out of our pockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We spent money, and
we're not trying to make money off of this. We're trying to get people together who have the same interests at heart. Yeah. I mean, personally, I'll be honest with you. I don't like car meets. I don't like car shows.
That's okay.
I'm not into car shows. I rather drive my car, go for a cruise, or go to a track. And that's why I wanted to do this. You can have both together, which is awesome. You can go on the track. You can have a small meet or something with other guys who don't want to track their car.
Yeah.
Or maybe they decide next year, after seeing how well everything was run, they might decide to run their car the next year. So
no, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, when I first got exposed to all the car shows and stuff like that, there is a lot of stuff that I don't really like or connect to, in terms of like the egos or the showboating or this and that. But
the drama. Yeah,
the drama. But underneath it all, there are really cool potential relationships and friendships that can be formed through these events.
Yeah.
If the the people that come out to the events, if the way it's run, you know, like the reasoning behind creating these events is resonates with the right people.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So I think you guys did, you know, you guys are doing something big, and you know, we would definitely want to help you, because obviously this is a passion project. You're doing this on top of your 9 to 5, on top of like having a family and all this stuff. So it's hard. We know it's hard. When we host events at KodaWari, you know, like our team is working extra hours. You know, it's money coming out of the company, coming out of our own pockets. But we're doing it because we love it, and even when it's hard, we're still going to do it because it's worth it to us.
Of course, monetary worth is different than like your worth, you know, for putting on something like this, that what it really means to you, right? Like for me, like a turning point, walking through the show and seeing like a good friend of mine, Mikey, debuted his car at the event. It was that blue 247. I don't know if you guys saw it, right? It had the full carbon stuff. He's a really good buddy. I mean, he's got a 911 turbo. We tracked together, but he's like, Navin, last year, he was registered for the event with that car, and he had a mishap with the car, couldn't make it. He brought his FRS. I'm like, okay, man, no worries. You can track the car, like whatever. This year, he couldn't personally make it, so he had a team bring his car out, which I was honored, man. And he debuted, and he's been working on that thing forever. It's a gorgeous build. And again, he was like, oh, you know, I want to help you out and give you a little bit of money or whatever. I'm like, no, like just bring your car, man. And it was a huge hit. One of the Import Fest guys came, Andy, he never drives this car, like let alone an hour and a half on the highway. This guy, that car does not come out of the driveway. He's the type of guy that buys a car and will keep it. He has a Mark IV Supra with TEs, full kit on it, you know what I mean?
It was super clean.
The car was fantastic. That's like a $250,000 car now. Crazy.
Oh my
God. Crazy to think. Single turbo, Gretty, you know, and again, he brought it out, you know, one, to support us, because, you know, I've known him for forever, and he liked the vibe. That was the thing, right? He's like, oh, I'm bringing the car with a bunch of old school cars, you know, and, you know, when being a part of that, right?
Yeah. Like as I've kind of seen like other shows like Driven, stuff like that, and the city that we have, the community that we have in the GTA, it's freaking huge.
It's massive.
And there are so many gems in the city that are hidden, that aren't coming out to these shows.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have to build enough presence and enough reputation that people understand that the guys that are running the show are trying to do it the right way, and that's the only way you're gonna get these gems out. Like you're gonna find them, and I think over time, people will see it. People and the guys like who never drive the cars that will drive it out to support. They support it because they believe in why you're doing, not what you're doing. Why you're doing it. So you know,
with Import Fest, it's the same thing. You know, 20 years of doing a car show, and like, you know, it's become like almost like a household name in Toronto, but the guy who started it is still running it. I've been a part of it for so long, and it's grown into a massive event. But again, it started out with a group of friends, same type of idea, same premise, passion. We're all owners. We love the cars, whether it be, you know, I mean, like car shows. Yes, I agree. Like for me now, I've transitioned into like track. Like I'm going to the track twice again this month, you know, but car shows are still a great way for people to connect, you know, share the passion, get together. You know, there's some meets out there that are, you know, that I'm a little skeptical about, you know, because of, you know, how they run their event and the things they allow there. That doesn't really speak to the scene or the passion or the culture, right? You know, when you run into my whole thinking is when you run an event, you know, you better do it because you share that passion for it. You know, you enjoy it. I had a great friggin' day at the track day, man. I was tired, wasn't feeling well, you know, but I still loved every minute of it, you know, and hearing conversations from people, you know, new people meeting each other, you know, because they had the same car. Like you go to a meet, you know, and it's right, and they're all new cars, and the guy brings out a classic car. Who's he going to talk to? There isn't really anybody he can talk to, right? At our event, we had RX-7s together, like FC RX-7s, FB RX-7s together, Datsun guys, Toyota guys, you know what I mean? Just the NSX guys. There was a bunch of NSX Honda guys and S2000 guys. They're just, you know, you gravitate to that same thing, right? You know, that same love for the old cars. You know, that's what I like about them. That's what I really took from the event. You know, that was the most gratifying part. And then seeing them getting thrashed on the track is the cherry on top. You know.
No, I can't wait to as my experience in confidence grows, can't wait to take the NSX out and enjoy it because
you're gonna love that car, man. You're gonna fall in love with it all over again. It's a beautiful looking car. The experience with the NSX is driving that thing. You know what I mean? On track, using it for what it was built for.
The experience of driving that thing has always trumped everything else.
Exactly.
And it's one of those cars that I never understood until I drove it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's it. I'm like, there's nothing would make me happier than to continue to build it and showcase it and drive it, enjoy it, and build relationships along the way through this passion, right?
Wait until you dive into a corner at 200 kilometers an hour. That's when you'll really understand everything, how that car works.
Yeah.
I remember the first time my brother took me out in his and we were at GP, and like I was a kid and I've never driven GP, and like he didn't even have that much experience.
Yeah.
And then he got a little bit more comfortable. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, you're not even braking. He's like, I know. We're like in mid quarter in the apex. He's like, I didn't even brake. I'm like, I know. How did you do that? And like the car is just unreal, man. And like, you don't get that now.
Yeah.
That type of feeling you only get from that generation of cars, from the 80s, from the 90s.
I was trying to get Nathan to take me out in the S2 because I'm like you guys are talking about having a coach and how valuable it is, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's. Sorry, guys, we had a little delivery. Probably more car parts, which is
that's fine.
That's fine. We'll allow that. But having a coach, having someone show you what your car is capable of doing, because like. Driving on the street, you can't wrap your head around how the car turns, what it's capable of.
Yeah.
Right? And only when you see someone do it with your car can you really like, wow, like my car can actually do that, right?
First couple times I took out my 911 GTS on GP, I was like, oh, I'm a fucking superstar. I'm great. Went out with the race car driver and shot my pants. And I was like, it's a different ball game, man.
Yeah.
When those guys drive, like him driving at 7 tenths is like me at like 12 tenths. You know, like it just and they love teaching. You know, like race car instructors, I know you've had them before. They love showing people how to drive. And like when you jump in the driver's seat and then they're in the passenger seat, different game. Like you become faster because he's like, no, you don't have to brake here.
Yeah.
No, you accelerate here. No, you turn in a little bit quicker, but come out a little bit faster. Your car can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
You just have to be comfortable. And it gives you a little bit more confidence. So like I built my confidence at Motorsport GP like that. And it's a learning curve. If you come out there thinking you're a hot shot, that track will put you in the wall.
Yeah, it's all about knowing the limits of your car, you know what I mean? And you lap your car, every lap you try to go a little bit faster, and then, you know, might get a bit squirrely, and then you're like, okay, that's where the limit's almost at, you know what I mean?
Derry made a comment at our track day when I had the 911 out. He's like, he came up to me, he's like, yo, I know what type of driver you are. I'm like, okay, like, what do you mean? I fully expected him to be like, you're slow, man. Like, you gotta take it easy, like, whatever. He's like, so what he told me was that I go past the limit, like I push, go past the limit, and then dial it back. Well, and in my head, I'm like, oh shit, that's right. I learned that from an instructor, where it's like, you go, like you said, learn your limit, and then you kind of dial it back to a little bit, you know, so make sure you don't crash or like spin the car out or whatever, right? But it's confidence, right? So even with you in the S2000, I'm sure now you're like, okay, I kind of get it. And you know, once you start, once the jitters go away, like first time I went on track, my legs were shaking. Like this is like when I was younger, right? But I came out and my legs were shaking. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. Now I do like 285 down the backstretch of GP. And I'm like, okay, I think I need a faster car. I'm like, now I need a faster car, man. You know. But with the JDM cars again, it's a little bit more different. Where you know, there's a lot more in the back of your head, right? You're like, man, I don't want this thing's my baby. I don't want to get a stone chip. You know what I mean? But
for me, I don't give a shit about that
Tim
stuff.
Don't give
it's just paint. You can paint it over.
Yeah, Tim just sends it which is amazing. Which is how many people you know with a car like his that think that way? There's very few. It's a very few. You know, very few people.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy driving that car. It's probably the best car I've driven on track. As you know, it's just fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's so raw. Everything you feel, everything, because it's such an old car. You know, it's everything.
Back hurts a little bit. Your neck hurts a little bit, but that's okay. That's all part of it.
I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way, and I used to put too much like care into like what these cars, what might happen.
Yeah.
And I've just made that transition where, you know, we just got the NSX back from the paint booth, did the whole front end, and I was out fitting new tires, took a chunk out of the fender because we were playing around the fitment still.
Yeah.
And some of my friends were like, why are you driving it? It's not even PPF'd yet, right? Yeah. I'm like, I don't care. Yo, there's like, how many days of summer are there in a year?
We're limited, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm driving this thing. I don't care if I get a fresh paint job and a stone chip, whatever. Paint can be resprayed. That's fine. I
agree.
Yeah.
Same, man. You know, like with the 8.6, even like it's like whatever. I'll just rewrap it or repaint the bumper. Like who cares? You know, you gotta enjoy it, man. Especially those old cars. Like there's a lot of guys that just have them sitting there in the garage. And again, this is what our event is about. Pull the thing out of the garage, dust the cobwebs off, put some fresh fuel in it, and come and send it with us. You know.
Yeah, man. No, we'll work with you guys to help get the word out, and help you guys market it.
Appreciate that.
Help support you guys in the event, and then I think it's gonna grow bigger and bigger every year, right?
Yeah.
As
we're gonna scale it, accordingly. You know what I mean? Like it's the bigger an event gets, the more people you need, with the like mind, and like we've got like a handful of guys that run the event, and that's it, right? Our concept is simple. But yet, we have the experience to organize an event like this. It's not easy, of course, but again, at the same time, our experience is what's helping us, go through the day, leading up to the day, figure things, you know what I mean? It's just, and bringing people in, right? The philosophy is simple. The background work is a little bit more. Tim does a lot as far as registrations and payments and stuff. My bread and butter is the day of. That's my thing. Yeah. I thrive on the event, the day of the event, right? So, and our staff is they're all like-minded guys and they're family, like my brother, and
Yeah, all the guys who work with us, volunteer to help out as marshals, and
they get a lunch.
They all
maybe a little
love cars. They love
they
love JDM cars, and so it's it's a good vibe. Everybody's happy to be there and they enjoy the day. I mean, what we would like to do next is bring the next event a different track.
Switch it up.
So, guys from closer to that area can make it, you know what I mean? So,
We've already got like a base that, people that'll come either way. I know that already. So like my next step is to now introduce this to other guys, and proximity and the venue location is probably one of the biggest things when you do an event like this, right?
Yeah.
So we're thinking of doing something, next year, possibly 2 events. That would be, I think in the third year, that's a good time to introduce us to 2 solid events, an opener and a closer, right? So that's kind of the direction. It's going to take some planning, and I think we're going to start soon now, not leave it till like we're not last minute type of people, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's a thought out process, right? And that's what breeds success is when you put everything into it and you make sure that you have a plan and you stick to it.
Yeah, man. No, I'm excited. And
glad to have you guys.
We're ready to help wherever we can, and I can't wait to be out there with you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for making the time today, guys.
No problem.
To kind of come here and talk about your event and about yourselves and what you guys do for the community.
I'm 2 for 2, guys. Okay, I'll be back soon.
We got to get Nathan in next before he comes and beats me up.
He's
right?
a little upset.
This was a little dig at him because I asked him to take me around the track and he wouldn't take me. So
my brother doesn't like driving other people's cars, except unless it's my car. Then he's like, no problem, he'll take it. But thank you guys, appreciate the support, and appreciate you having us on board. Tim and I, we're hoping this event will expand slowly but surely. It will. Our cars aren't going anywhere. I've decided to keep the 8.6. It's no longer for sale, everybody. Sorry, your chance is gone now.
You didn't decide. The car guys decided for you.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice. So
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
All right.